Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into a beautifully designed new game called River Valley Jewelcraft. This little gem is set in the beloved world of River Valley, and it comes to us from the brilliant minds of designers Adam Hill, Ben Pinchback, and Matt Riddle, with absolutely gorgeous art by Andrew Bosley. If you love clever excavation and smart resource management, oh man, you are in for a real treat. So, let's start with a quick overview of what we're looking at. River Valley Jewelcraft plays with 1 to 5 players, and it hits that perfect sweet spot of 45 to 60 minutes of playtime. It's incredibly thematic and engaging, putting you right in the shoes or, paws of these ambitious, burrowing creatures living on the edge of the mountains. You've literally just discovered valuable gems underground. Your ultimate goal? Build up a thriving mining operation. Excavate those gems, refine them, and fulfill lucrative jewelry orders way better than your opponents to rack up those victory points. Okay, let's dive into this explainer and look at our roadmap. We'll start with a welcome to River Valley, move right into setting up your mine, tackle the excavation phase, explore crafting, and finally, we'll cover the endgame and scoring. Section 1. Welcome to River Valley, building your mining empire. All right, as these ambitious burrowing creatures, the pressure is totally on to outdig everyone else at the table. But before we get to setup, you really need to understand the pulsing heart of this whole game. Excavating. Excavating simply means gathering gems from an entire row or column. But here's the brilliant part about River Valley Jewelcraft. It keeps absolutely everyone engaged. See, while there's an active player taking their turn, all the other players are actually involved in most phases of every single turn. There's practically zero downtime here, which is a massive win. Section 2. Setting up your mine. Preparing for the dig. Setup for this one is a total breeze. Think of it like organizing our gear before heading underground. First, you'll place the tile marker in the center of the table, making sure you use the side based on your player count, and you'll remove a few rock tiles, like 6 of them for a 4-player game. Then, reveal 5 tiles. Next up, hand out a mine board, a character board, a worker, and a resource track to everyone. You'll also shuffle 5 rubble tokens face down onto the rubble spaces of your mine board to block them off. Finally, just separate your jewelry cards into basic, those are the rings, necklaces, and timepieces, fine, and artisan decks, revealing 3 of the fine and artisan cards to build your marketplace. 0. Yep, 0 is the magic number for your starting resources. You'll take your worker token and plop it right on the starting space shown on your character board. Then position your resource track right below your mine board and place every single starting gem exactly on the 0 space. You are definitely going to have to work hard to bump those numbers up. Now, every great game needs a fun starting rule, right? And this one is fantastic. The starting player is simply the person who most recently visited a jewelry store. How fun is that? You hand them the 2 dice and the active player marker. And with that, you are fully set up and ready to dig in. Let's move to Section 3, the excavation phase. Roll the dice and dig. So the game flows in clockwise turns, and every single turn kicks off with this incredibly dynamic excavation phase. Now, what's really interesting here is the simultaneous play mechanic we talked about. At the start of a turn, the active player rolls both dice. They get the privilege of choosing exactly one of those dice to use for themselves. And the die they leave behind? Well, that single remaining die is what all the inactive players must use to excavate. It's this wonderful bit of player interaction wrapped right into your core resource generation. So what do these dice actually do? Let's break it down. All players will excavate using their assigned die. If you're using the gold die, it activates a row. If you're using the silver die, it activates a column. But if a pickaxe symbol is rolled, things get a bit positional. You will instead activate the specific row or column where your worker is currently located on your board, depending, of course, on the color of that die. Now, activating a row or column means you are digging a space. And what does it actually mean to dig a space? Basically, you resolve all the icons pictured there. This might immediately grant you gems to move up on your resource track. You might also get to follow arrows to dig adjacent spaces, which creates these incredibly satisfying chain reactions. You can even trigger special effects, like getting to dig again if your worker happens to be present on that exact space. After that main excavation happens, turn splits up. The inactive players will perform what's called their work step. This means they activate the ability on their character board, which usually involves moving their worker, and then they choose to either dig or clear rubble. If you choose to clear rubble, you flip the token, gain the listed gems, and remove the token from your board. This is huge because it permanently opens up that space for future tiles. Meanwhile, the active player skips this work step entirely and moves straight on to their exclusive actions, crafting and exploring. Section 4. Crafting and exploring. Turning gems into points. 4. This is a critical limit for the active player during the crafting phase. You can spend your gems to claim those face-up jewelry cards from the market, but you can only craft up to a total value of 4 per turn. Once you craft them, you'll place these completed, beautiful pieces of jewelry right in front of you. Trust me, they are going to be vital for scoring later on. After crafting, the active player explores by grabbing a single tile from the market. You'll either pay or gain gems based on the slot it was in. Then you place the tile onto a space in your mine. But hey, pay attention here. Structural integrity is key. You absolutely cannot place tiles on uncleared rubble or partially supported spaces. If you're stacking them, they must be fully supported from underneath. We don't want any cave-ins. As you place these tiles, your main goal is to create rock groups. By definition, a rock group is a cluster of 2 or more orthogonally connected spaces of the exact same rock type. Building these matching clusters within your mine is a highly effective strategy because, as you'll see, they are a major source of points at the end of the game. To finish up the turn, we just do a quick cleanup. Refill any crafted jewelry cards from their respective decks so the market is full again. Slide the remaining tiles in the market to the right, refill the empty slots, and pass the active player marker to the next person. Oh, and a quick pro tip, once your gaming group is familiar with this flow, you can actually flip your character boards to the advanced side. This grants unique abilities for even deeper strategy during the work phase. Which brings us to Section 5, Endgame and Scoring. Tallying your treasure. Sadly, all good things must come to an end, and so must our time in the mines. The game's end is triggered the moment the tile market can no longer be refilled. When that happens, players just finish out the current round, so that absolutely everyone gets an equal number of turns. So the crucial point is, how do you actually win? First, add up all your crafted jewelry base points and printed endgame bonuses. Next, look for complete jewelry sets. Having a ring, a necklace, and a timepiece together nets you 4 bonus points per set. Remember those rock groups we talked about? You scored 2 points per space in your largest group and 1 point per space for your second largest. Finally, you get points based on the gem type you have the fewest of, which really rewards balanced management. Tally it all up, and the highest score rules the valley. And that brings us to the end of this explainer. River Valley Jewelcraft is just an excellent blend of clever excavation, smart resource management, and really strategic tile placement. You can grab a copy on Kickstarter through May 13th, or if you're checking this out later, you can find it over at allgameplay.com. I'm going to leave you with this to ponder. When you finally sit down at the table, what mining strategy are you going to try first? Are you rushing to complete those jewelry sets, or are you building massive rock groups? Have fun planning your empire, and happy gaming.